Yo, 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 yo. Oh man, it's been a very rough time, but I'm very glad to get back to you guys. So today we gonna be looking at this doggone interview with Charlamagne the God and Kamala Harris. And boy, I'm not even finna say anything. Let's just look into it and let's just see what they talking about. Probably a bunch of gibberish, but yeah.
You did just walk in. You was
I'm
kind of late,
very
so
well. I try to be on time.
well,
Apparently, I'm 40 seconds late. You're right.
well, you are black. So okay now. Now one thing they've been saying. A lot of your press hits get criticized. Folks say you come off as very scripted. They say you like to stick to your talking points, and some media says you have.
That would be called discipline.
Oh, okay. Speak to
Okay,
that.
but go on.
No, I was gonna say some people say you have an inability to fearlessly say who you are and what you believe. I know that's not true. But what do you say to that criticism? And is it fair for SNL to make fun of it?
Hasn't Maya Rudolph been wonderful?
Yes.
I think I have nothing but admiration for the comedy, and I think it's important to be able to laugh at yourself and each other
But what do you say if people say
in the spirit of obviously comedy.
We don't know who you are. You have flip flopped on pretty much all your policies.
Comedy and
Yes.
not belittling people as my opponent did.
But what do you say to people who say you stay on the talking points?
I would say you're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen, here's the thing. I love having conversations, which is why I'm so happy to be with you this afternoon. And the reality is that there are certain things that must be repeated to ensure that I have everyone know what I stand for and the issues that I think are at stake in this election.
Mm-hmm.
And so it requires repetition. Some people say that if until someone has heard the same thing at least 3 times, it just doesn't stay with you. So repetition is important. And for that reason, yes, at my rallies, I say the same thing when I go to Detroit as I do in Philly, as I do wherever I am, to make sure that people hear and receive what I think are some of the most critical issues that are at stake in this election.
There has to be a high level of anxiety too when you have these conversations. Though.
So why every time when it's not a teleprompter around, you always choke? Isn't it supposed to be naturally instilled within you to turn around and be repetitive, right? Why can't you turn around and repeat your doggone script without a teleprompter? But okay.
Though, because you are running for president.
I mean, you know what? There's certainly a lot of. I feel the weight of the moment and my role. I feel an extraordinary weight of responsibility right now to do everything I can. I'm telling you, Charlamagne, when I go to bed at night, I almost every night, in addition to my prayers, will ask, have I done everything I could do today? This is a margin of error race. It's tight. I'm going to win. I'm going to win. But it's tight. And, what is at stake is truly profound and almost and historic, many would.
She is almost still delusional. You is not finna win.
Say. And it's about, some people would say this lofty notion of supporting and preserving our democracy.
Mm-hmm.
But it is about real issues that affect people every day, like whether we're going to maintain a $35 cap on insulin for our seniors, whether we're going to continue to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices to bring them down, whether we are going to have, as my opponent would have, a formalized stop and frisk policy, for which he has said if a police department does not do it, they should be defunded or not. There is so much at stake. Whether America is going to stand on its principles around the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity and stand with our allies around the world, or whether we're going to admire dictators and send during the height of COVID and the pandemic, COVID tests that nobody could get to the president of Russia for his personal use when Black people were dying every day by the hundreds during that time.
Yeah, I feel like that one has gone over people's heads. The fact that he was sending COVID tests to Putin.
I mean, you know, your listeners, the people we know, the number of people who lost their grandparents and parents. Remember what that was like during the height of COVID? And a lot of it, people were scrambling for the resources and needed tests. And Donald Trump, during that time, secretly sent COVID tests to the president of Russia, who, by the way, do not forget, in the 2016 election, because I was a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee when we investigated it, targeted Black voters in 2016 with mis and disinformation to discourage Black people from voting in that election. And this is just another of the very many examples of who Donald Trump really is, and the danger he presents to real people.
Sending COVID tests to Russia, that doesn't sound very America first at all. But it's not just you versus Trump, it's you versus misinformation.
Yes, that's true.
Right? And one of the biggest pieces of misinformation, one of the biggest out.
I'm going to need y'all to, I don't know what this is with Charlemagne the God and DL Hughley and all of them, but we gonna need some type of vaccination or something for this shit. I mean, no, he didn't just sit here and say
allegations against you is that you targeted and locked up thousands of Black men in San Francisco for weed. Some say you did it to boost your career. Some say you did it out of pure hate for Black men. Please tell us the facts. What's the facts of that situation?
It's just simply not true. And what public defenders who were around those days will tell you, I was the most progressive prosecutor in California on marijuana cases and would not send people to jail for simple possession of weed.
Ma'am, that is a bald-faced ass lie. I know we not finna do this. I know we not finna do this. I know good and well we not finna do this. Ma'am. Ma'am.
Weed. And as vice president, have been a champion for bringing marijuana down on the schedule. So instead of it being ranked up there with heroin, we bring it down. And my pledge is, as president, I will work on decriminalizing it, because I know exactly how those laws have been used to disproportionately impact certain populations, and specifically Black men.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same woman that locked Black men up for marijuana charges.
Before we get into the talkback feature and take some questions from the audience, I do want to talk to you about the legalization of weed, because you're saying you want to legalize it now. What steps did the Biden administration take to get closer to that reality?
So we had to work with the DEA, and there's a certain level of bureaucracy that exists.
I'm sorry, y'all. This is just, yeah.
Exist in the federal government that slows things down, but essentially to bring down how weed is classified, how marijuana is classified, to make it classified as a lesser harm. Mm-hmm. And so that took some time. There's a whole process around that, but that's the work that we have done, in addition to work that we have done writ large on criminal justice reform.
Okay, let's take some calls. Let's not calls, let's go to the talkback feature.
My question for Kamala is, why are we, and I say we because my tax dollars is sending the money, why are we sending money to other countries when we desperately need it in our own country for homeless, housing, resources for
Come through,
whatever.
sis.
That is my determining factor if I vote for Kamala or not.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons the America First rhetoric resonates, because nobody in America would complain about where money was going if American citizens' everyday needs were being met. So what do you say to that?
We can do it all, and we do.
Mhm.
So, first of all, I maintain very strongly America should never pull ourselves away from our responsibility as a world leader. And that is in the best interest of our national security.
Not at the cost of you causing inflation in your own goddamn country, stupid.
Each one of us as Americans and our standing in the world. That being said, we also have an obligation to American citizens, obviously, and people who are here to meet their everyday needs and challenges, which is why, for example, we have done the work in the last 4 years of bringing down the cost of prescription medication, whether it be $35 a month for seniors for insulin or $2,000 a year cap on prescription medication. What we have done that has been about putting $17 billion in our HBCUs. I am proud to be the first HBCU vice president of the United States. I intend to be the first HBCU president of the United States. Those resources are about sending them to centers of academic excellence that I know them to be. The work that I continue to do is about increasing access to capital for our small businesses. It is about increasing the opportunity for home ownership, knowing that Black people are 40% less likely to be homeowners in America. We have a history of legal and procedural obstacles to that home ownership, starting with the fact nobody got 40 acres and a mule, to redlining, to issues that this Detroit area and people around the country know to be real. So part of my plan is that we're going to give people a $25,000 down payment assistance to get their foot in the door to buy a home for first-time home buyers. The work that I'm...
So you gonna fuck around and cause another housing crisis? Okay.
I'm going to do to increase housing supply in America, knowing that that's one of the reasons that rents and housing prices are jacked up, and to work with the private sector, cut through the red tape, and work to build more housing, 3 million before the end of my first term. And I give these examples, and there are many more which I will offer. So, for example, the work that I will do to extend the child tax credit to $6,000 for young families during the first year of their child's life. Because as you and I both know, our families all have a natural desire to parent their children well, but not always the resources.
Mhm.
So by expanding the child tax credit to the first year of child's life to $6,000, that gives that young family the ability to buy a car seat or a crib or clothes, the things that are so important during that critical phase of that child's development, so that they can get on the road and actually have a chance at succeeding.
You know, you said we can do it all, but can we? Because, you know, Tupac famously said, you know, we got money for war, but can't feed the poor, right? And I saw President Obama say last week that, you know, you really shouldn't expect, you know, a president to rid the world of all of his problems. And so is it fair to tell people, hey, we can do it all? Because that's when people get disappointed, when things don't happen.
But I think President Obama is absolutely correct, but it doesn't mean we can't do anything.
That's right.
So when I talk about extending the child tax credit, when I was vice president, I pushed that we would do it during our first year. And we reduced Black child poverty in America by 50%. We did that. We can do that. My plan that is about building up home ownership in the Black community, we can do that. My work that has been about increasing access to capital, bringing billions more dollars into our community banks, which I've done as vice president, through cooperation and partnership with some of the big banks and tech companies, to get more access to capital for our entrepreneurs, for our businesses. We've done that. So we should never sit back and say, okay, I'm not going to vote because everything hasn't been solved. I share a desire that everything should be solved, by the way.
Mhm.
I think it is what we should all want. But that shouldn't stand in the way of us also knowing we can participate in a process that's about improving things. And by voting in this election, you have two choices, or you don't vote, but you have two choices if you do. And it's two very different visions for our nation. One mind that is about taking us forward and progress and investing in the American people, investing in their ambitions, dealing with their challenges. And the other, Donald Trump, is about taking us backward.
The other is about fascism. Why can't we just say it?
Yes, we can say that.
Yeah. Reverend Solomon Kinlock Jr., I want you to meet him. He is the senior pastor of Triumph Church. Where's Reverend Kinlock?
Oh, he's here.
Come on, tell Secret Service move out the way. It's okay. It's just the Reverend. Yeah, all right.
Hey, Reverend.
What's up, Reverend?
Madam Vice President Charlemagne,
Yes,
thank
sir.
y'all for being in Detroit tonight.
Thank you.
Recently, Madam Vice President, by one of Trump's surrogates from the Black faith-based community, you've been criticized by him and others for your lack of engagement to the Black church. Knowing that the Black church is an unrivaled place in the heart of Black people, what could you speak to as it relates to a future Harris administration, how you would partner with the Black church to address some of the urgent needs of the Black community? Dr. King talked about the fierce urgency of right now, and as a church, Triumph Church is in that place.
So first of all, that allegation, of course, is coming from the Trump team, because they are full of mis and disinformation, because they are trying to disconnect me from the people I have worked with and that I am from, so that they can try and have some advantage in this election, because otherwise they have nothing to run on. I grew up in the Black church. I grew up.
So the lie detector determined that was a lie.
Attending 23rd Avenue Church of God in Oakland, California.
That's church.
Yes, that is church. My pastor is Amos C. Brown of Third Baptist Church in San Francisco, California.
Yes.
I have throughout my career and as vice president and recently been actively engaged in the church and church leaders, not only so we can share in fellowship, but so we can share in what we can do together that is about supporting the community, the strength of the community, the cohesion of the community. My long-standing work, and therefore my pledge going forward, I will always work closely with the church, because I understand who our church leaders are and who the congregation is. We are talking about people who are driven by faith and the ability to see what is possible by faith, where I was raised, and I know many of us were, understanding that our God is a loving God, that our faith propels us to act in a way that is about kindness and justice and mercy, that is about lifting one another up. And let's talk about the contrast here. Donald Trump and his followers spend full time trying to suggest that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down, which is absolutely contrary to the church I know.
He sells Bibles, though.
Where our church and my church is about saying true leadership, the measure of that is based on who you lift up. And right. And then he's selling $60 Bibles or tennis shoes and trying to play people as though that makes him more understanding of the Black community. Come on.
Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you for the correction.
Thank you, Reverend.
And God,
That was an entire piece of fluff and lies. I just seen this man at McDonald's. What is she talking about? First of all, do we even... The church is already sold in the first place. Keep playing it.
God is
Appreciate
good.
Yeah.
Every day, all the time.
There you go. I had to make sure you get that right. Now, have you seen the clip, Madam Vice President, from the grill? It's a clip that's kind of out of context, and it says that you won't do anything specifically for Black people. Have you seen that?
I've not seen that.
Well, it's a clip that has you saying that you're not going to do anything specifically for Black people.
Well, that's just not true. And listen, again, you said it at the beginning of this.
So we gonna sit here, fluff it up again, and tell another lie. Lady, the video is on YouTube. It's all on the internet. You were specifically asked the question, what, you know what? Go ahead.
Visit Charlemagne. One of the biggest challenges that I face is mis and disinformation.
Mhm.
And it's purposeful because it is meant to convince people that they somehow should not believe that the work that I have done has occurred and has meaning. My work from the beginning of my career through today has been about, for example, we've talked about it, whether it be on HBCUs, whether it be on healthcare, Black maternal mortality. I am singularly, many would say, one of the highest level leaders in our country to bring the issue of Black maternal mortality to the stage of the White House to address it. The work that I've done that has been about focusing on my knowledge and my experience and my life experience of knowing the entrepreneurship that we have in the community, the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams, and then tapping into that so that not only has my work been about ensuring that we have some of the lowest Black unemployment ever in our country, but that also knowing that that should be a baseline that everybody has a job. And what we should be invested in is also building wealth in the community and intergenerational wealth. And I have many, many examples of that. But again, part of the challenge that I face is that they are trying to scare people away because they know they otherwise have nothing to run on. Ask Donald Trump what his plan is for Black America. Ask him. What I'll tell you. Look at Project 2025. Project 2025 tells you the plan includes making police departments have stopped.
Lady, y'all have been fear-mongering us for 16 years. Please stop telling the lies, because y'all have been fear-mongering us for 16 years, lady. And on countless of times, even the people that are of the Heritage Foundation even turned around and said Donald Trump has nothing to do with Project 2025 over 1,000 times. And you still using it, still trying to throw him along with it. So who's doing the fear mongering? We done had this man in office. Nobody has been thrown in jail for no reason. Nobody has been thrown in chains. Nobody has been put in slavery. And you still use that to fearmonger for votes.
Stop frisk policies. The plan includes making it more difficult for workers to receive overtime pay. The plan includes ending the ability of Medicare to negotiate drug prices. You know what we have done? He said he would. We did. Which means that that's how we brought down the cost of prescription medication. His plan includes making it more difficult for working people to get by and to destroy our democracy. You know what he says? Terminate the Constitution of the United States.
Right.
Let me remind folks. You know what's in the Constitution of the United States? The Fourth Amendment, which protects you against unreasonable searches and seizures. The Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, the 14th Amendment, and he's going to terminate the Constitution of the United States.
He never said anything about terminating the Constitution.
One thing or another was about a movement spurred by Black people to ensure that we would be equally protected under the law. Come on.
Let's take the question to talk about.
Hi, my name is Joshua Fisher, age 31 years old, African-American male from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'd like to ask Madam Vice President what laws does she have planned to make sure there's a stop to police brutality and murders that have been going on viciously?
So again, word that I
Yeah, please. Please. Because we know she finna cap. And we know she finna cap.
So again, the work that I have done through my career and most recently even when I was in the United States Senate to help write the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Cory Booker and I worked very closely on that.
Could you tell people why that didn't pass? To give folks a quick civics lesson.
We couldn't get the votes in Congress. There's a clip somewhere of me fighting with a Republican senator to actually to actually get it passed. We couldn't get it passed. But what we did when we came in office and during the time that I've been vice president is we passed an executive order. So whereas we were trying, and I have been trying to make these things national so that everyone would have to do it, an executive order by the president and our administration says that for federal law enforcement, the following things have to happen, which we for the first time put in place. No knock warrants, barring chokeholds, a national database, now it's for federal law enforcement, but a national database for us to collect information and track police officers who have broken the law. And this is no small issue, this piece in addition to everything else. Because as we know, we've seen plenty of examples of a police officer who committed misconduct in one jurisdiction and then goes to another jurisdiction and gets hired because there's no place that's tracking their misconduct. So these are some of the things that we've done. And then listen, I'm still going to always work on getting the George Floyd Justice Policing Act passed. Part of the work that I'm doing as a candidate for president of the United States includes lifting up those candidates who are running either for re-election or for the first time to Congress who are supportive of what we need to do on all of the issues we've been discussing, whether it be freedom to vote and passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, whether it be freedom to make decisions about your own body, whether it be the freedom to just be and be free from any brutality, including police brutality when and where it occurs.
I think a lot of the frustration comes from people who say sometimes politicians volunteer lives because yes, it's great to try to pass the George Floyd Policing Act. You probably know you can't get the vote. Why push that on you?
I don't subscribe to that approach, and I'm going to tell you why. It took a long time for the Voting Rights Act to get done. It took the brutality of what happened when John Lewis and all those were trying to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge. It took a lot of work over our history to do what we have accomplished thus far, and we have to remain committed.
How do you convince Republican senators, as you just said?
Well, part of
senators,
but part of it is that their constituents are part of this. I mean, we have plenty of folks who want this, who live in districts where they serve. And this is the point. This gets back to the earlier point about you can't let anybody take you out of the game by not voting. The solutions, and maybe this is the point you're making about what President Obama said. The solutions are not going to happen just overnight. And the solutions that we all want are not going to happen in totality because of one election. But here's the thing. The things that we want and are prepared to fight for won't happen if we're not active and if we don't participate. We cannot allow circumstances to take us out the game, because then basically what we're saying is all those people who are obstructionists, who are standing in the way of change, they're winning. Because they're convincing people that it can't be done, so take yourself out. Don't participate. Look at that circle. Look at that vicious circle then. So let's not fall for it.
Zeke, this is my man Zeke. He's the president and CEO of New Era Detroit. He
Or is it that they going out and informing people like they have a right to do?
He wants to talk to you about your blackmail agenda.
Okay,
for the black community, or just your agenda for the black community, period. Zeke, what's up, brother?
What up, though? What up, though? Madam Vice President Charlamagne the God. What up, though? And welcome to Detroit.
Yes, sir.
Good to be back.
I like to say the real Detroit because I'm up in here. My name is Zeke, New Era founder, CEO. I worked on the ground here in Detroit and in Black communities all across the country for over the past 10 years, actually celebrating our 10th year this past August.
All right.
In my 10 years of organizing, we played a major role in the resurgence of pride and the change of mindset in Detroit neighborhoods across the city. We're not only known for the work that we do here in Detroit, but across the country in Black communities, having worked in over 35 cities, other Blackest cities in America. Saying all that to say, I'm extremely qualified to sit in front of the current Vice President and which can be the next President of the United States of America. As I pose my question to you, I would first like to make it known that I don't have any emotional connections to politicians. I believe that this is one of our biggest flaws in the current political process. I view politics as a business, and America is one of the biggest corporations in the world. With that being said, I'm here on behalf of the business of the Black community. With all that Black Americans have been through and contribute to the success of America, I feel that there should be an in-depth investigation or evaluation of the lack of resources and current living conditions in Black communities nationwide. My question to you is, what's your stance on reparations? We all know that America became great, off the backs of free Black labor. How progressive are you on making it a priority and righting America's wrongs? It's understood that you are running for president for all people of America, asking for specifics for Black communities doesn't mean don't do for others, but Black Americans are heavily asked to vote Democrat at every election for over half of a century, with very little in return. What are your plans to address these very important issues and change that narrative?
Thank you, Zeke.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you for your work. So to your point, yes, I am running to be a president for all Americans. That being said, I do have clear eyes about the disparities that exist and the context in which they exist, meaning history, to your point. So my agenda, well, first of all, on the point of reparations, it has to be studied. There's no question about that. And I've been very clear about that position. In terms of my immediate plan, I will tell you a few of the following. One, as it relates to the economy, which is a lot of what you have addressed. Look, I grew up in the middle class. My mother, worked hard, raised me and my sister, and by the time I was in high school, she was able to afford our first home. I know what it means for an individual and a family to have home ownership. I also know, in the context of history, nobody got 40 acres and a mule. We have a history of a number of things, including redlining. Detroit knows it well. A history of, for example, something that still exists that I've worked on to address, which is racial bias in home appraisal. And we know home ownership is Black families are 40% less likely to be homeowners than others. And that home ownership is one of the surest ways to build intergenerational wealth. Right? Because when you own a home, that's when if your child says, Daddy, I want to go to college, you can say, sweetheart, don't have to take out a loan. I'll take some equity out of the house. Or if your child says, I want to start a small business, same point. Right? So my plan includes making sure that for first-time home buyers, they have a $25,000 down payment assistance to just get their foot in the door. Because we know folks will work hard, they'll save, and pay that monthly mortgage. Second point is to bring down the cost of housing generally, because one of the issues is we have a housing supply shortage, and so that's about working with the private sector. In terms of our small businesses, which are part of the backbone of the economy of the Black community, and part of the backbone of America's economy writ large, My second mother, the woman who helped raise us, was a small business owner. I know who our small business owners are. And I have convened Black small business owners way before I was running for president in my official office at the White House to talk with young entrepreneurs, mostly young, about the work that they are doing that is about clean energy work, technology, as well as the traditional, whether it be a barber shop or a restaurant. One of the big issues facing Black entrepreneurs and Black small businesses is access to capital. Because unlike my opponent, who got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, don't forget that, calls himself a businessman. Not everybody has access to capital, but we know in the community we do not lack for ambition, aspirations, dreams, hard work ethic. And so my work has been as vice president to increase billions of dollars into community banks. And as vice president, part of that work will also be to change the tax deduction for startup small businesses from $5,000 to $50,000. Because nobody can start a small business on $5,000. And if you don't otherwise have intergenerational wealth, how are you going to be able to do it? Second point on small business is this.
First of all, you can't start a business on $5,000. That's a lie. Second of all, you would have been did all this shit 3 years ago. Why you? What stopped you? And it's crazy they still calling you Madam Vice President and not realizing that, oh, she had the same exact power to do everything that she said she's going to do 3 years ago. I mean, people can literally see right through this.
Basically, it's a program that is about a $20,000 non-refundable loan to a certain, to basically businesses that don't have access to wealth and don't have those relationships, which is going to directly impact a lot of small business, Black-owned small businesses. That $20,000 non-refundable loan is what would help somebody if they need to buy equipment, right? If they need to buy an extra truck, depending on what that business is, which we know that's a big part of what holds back our small businesses. Just having enough capital to actually pay for the things that allow you to then put your hard work into play to actually grow your business. The other piece, and this is something that is critically important, is to see Black folks, in particular Black men, as a whole human being. And understand that we are talking about sons, we are talking about fathers, we are talking about grandsons, we're talking about grandparents, we're talking about uncles. And so I say that as a preface to say 2 other things, and then I'll keep going. One, to deal with you like that.
Okay, filibuster, ma'am.
To deal with health care for Black people and Black men in particular. We know that we still have a lot of work to do to increase, for example, the high risk that we have for colon cancer, for prostate cancer, right? And to increase screenings and to make sure that people are actually going to get the screenings. Not to mention the higher risk for sickle cell. So part of my agenda is about what we will do to deal with and highlight what we've got to do to focus on Black men's health. And then a similar point is this: 40% of caregivers are men. And we know culturally we take care of our elders. And we have a lot of men in the community who are in the sandwich generation, who are trying to take care of their young kids and take care of an elder parent or relative. And it's overwhelming for people to be able to do both. And a lot of people have to end up thinking about leaving their job to just do it.
That's right.
So my plan is this. One, in order for people to then afford assistance for hiring healthcare, home healthcare, they basically have to go broke to be eligible for Medicaid. My plan is this. Let's have Medicare. And this is, I've mapped it out and we can make it work. Medicare cover the cost of home health care for seniors, which means that you are looking at individuals in the context of their whole family. Because what we know is, again, understanding the culture, understanding the reality. Lots of people are having to leave work in order to do that. So these are some examples of my agenda. And overall, it is an agenda that understands, by the way, because we've talked already a lot about criminal justice, that the needs of the Black community are not just about criminal justice.
We need that money.
It's about, because here's the thing. We have brought down Black unemployment, I said this earlier, to one of the lowest levels in history. But I'm very clear. The community is not going to stand up and applaud just because everybody has a job. That should be a baseline. My agenda is about tapping into the ambitions and the aspirations, knowing that folks want to have an opportunity. If they want, they should have a meaningful opportunity to build wealth, including intergenerational wealth. And that's my agenda.
You know, there's a couple of things that you said.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. There was a couple of things that you said that people would say were talking points, but it's really just your story. Even though they are becoming your greatest hits when you talk about the middle class and your godmother being a small business owner. But that's just your story.
It's my story. Look, I've been in this race 70 days. Some people are just getting to know me. Other people have.
Which is basically a whole front. That's what everybody found out.
Known me. And I owe it. Listen, I feel very strongly I need to earn every vote, which is why I'm here having this candid conversation with you and your listeners. I have to earn people's support, and I'm working to do that.
Before we go to another talkback call, I want to say there was a time I had a politician tell me once that if you're running for a national election, it's bad electoral strategy to say you're going to do things specifically for Black people, which is why a lot of politicians don't speak directly to their plans for Black people. Is that a thing?
I don't know.
Black man, take this opportunity in front of us. Black man. You should have a say what this country does. Black man. When you look around, you're not sure. Come take this pledge with me. Sound.org.
I don't know that that's true. I think that what is true is that I am running to be president for everybody. But I'm clear-eyed about the history and the disparities that exist for specific communities, and I'm not going to shy away from that. It doesn't mean that my policies aren't going to benefit everybody, because they are. Everything I just talked about will benefit everybody. Small business owners, whatever their race, their gender, their geographic location, are going to benefit from the fact that I'm going to extend tax deductions to $50,000. Every first-time homeowner, wherever they are, whatever their race, will benefit if they are a first-time home buyer with a $25,000 down payment assistance. Everyone is going to benefit from my plan to extend the child tax credit to $6,000 for the first year of their child's life. That's going to benefit everybody. But I do realize, again, that on the issue of home ownership, for example, Black people are 40% less likely to own a home. So,
do you do you feel like President Obama stepped on your rollout? Because I know you've been working on the Black male agenda for a long time, and you've been doing the outreach, which was the Opportunity Economy Tour and things like that.
Yeah.
But then he made the statements that he made last week, so everybody thinks this is a reaction to that.
Oh, no. I mean, you just have to. No, obviously not. I've been doing this for quite some time, including before I was running for president.
Let's talk about it, Getty.
Hi, I'm Bobby from Georgia, and I have a question for Kamala Harris. Could you please respond to Trump's claim that he's going to use Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to round up immigrants
if he wins the election. This law last used to put Asian Americans in an internment camp during World War II, and I have a sneaking suspicion that if Trump wins, he's going to use this law to put anyone that doesn't look white in camps, and I'm scared.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lie.
Yeah. So you've hit on a really important point and expressed it, I think, so well, which is he is achieving his intended effect to make you scared. He is running full time on a campaign that is about instilling fear, not about hope, not about optimism, not about the future, but about fear. And so this is yet another example. Look what he did in saying that those legal immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, were eating their pets. And by the way, the hypocrisy of it abounds, because on the issue of immigration, let's be clear, some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, working with others, came up with a border security bill, which was the strongest, toughest border security bill in a long, long time. It would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border. It would have reduced the flow of fentanyl into our country, which is killing people all over our country of every race and background. It would have allowed us to do more work on prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done in my career. Trump got word that bill was afoot, knew it would fix the problem, and told his buddies in Congress to kill the bill. And you know why? Because he would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And he's running his campaign in a way that he does these rallies where people, by the way, walk out, and does these rallies to try and instill fear around an issue where he actually could be part of a solution, but he chose not to because he prefers to run on a problem instead of fix a problem. And we got to call it out and see it for what it is.
But does the Biden administration have to take some blame for the border, though? A lot of the blame? Because, I mean, the first 3 years, y'all did a lot of things wrong with the border.
No, Charlamagne, within hours of being inaugurated, the first bill we passed before we did the Inflation Reduction Act, before we did the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, before we did the Safer Communities Act to deal with gun violence, first thing we dropped was a bill to fix the broken immigration system, which by the way, Trump did not fix when he was president. And you can look at every step along the way. We then tightened up the asylum application process. We then worked with what we needed to do to secure ports of entry. We did a number of things, including what we did to try and get that border security bill passed. And then also an executive order that has actually reduced significantly the number of illegal crossings and tightened up what needs to happen in between ports of entry. But no, we've been working on it ever since. But here's what has to happen. Congress has to act to fix the immigration system, and it has been broken for a long time. Congress has to act, but it does not help when finally a bipartisan group got together to fix it. And Donald Trump told them, "Hold on, don't do that, because it won't help me politically."
Why do you allow them to call you a border czar when that's not even your, that wasn't your role?
I'm not giving permission for that.
You're right. But I mean, you don't push back on it. That wasn't your role.
Fact checkers have made that clear.
That definitely was her role. And fact checkers have done nothing but make that clear that she was definitely border czar. So here we go with the fluffing and lying again. You know what? I'm done. Anyways, you guys have seen it. Like, comment, and subscribe. We out of here.